Well, hello, Chick Chat. We're back with Teen Mom episode 7, and we're going to start this off with Cheyenne. And Cheyenne is dealing with the heart monitor thing again. Basically, Ryder's taking her heart monitor off, and she's now waiting on results to come in, letting her know what's actually going on with Ryder's heart.
Pretty much the same thing is happening that was happening last episode. She would feel something in her heart and then she would react to that and kind of cry. They did not have the results yet, and we don't know at this point if it was dangerous or not. But I thought it was pretty clear that she was having anxiety, especially when she said, "I can't do this anymore." Those are thoughts. Those are things that you think and then feel. When you're having a medical emergency, there's not a lot of thoughts that are going on around that. It's more of just survival, and sometimes you're losing consciousness or whatever. So she's definitely freaking out about something. Still don't know at this point if it's actually dangerous or not, but she's also having anxiety on top of that. So I just feel so bad for her because she's such a happy kid. So I hope that they can figure something out. We do eventually find out that she has this ectopic rhythm, so she can feel her heart beating sometimes, and it seems like it's not in a regular rhythm. So I think that that would make anybody feel anxious. So I hope through this meditation that gets brought up and that she can get it together.
I kind of chuckled when Cheyenne told her that Corey and everybody was going to be there, and she's like, "Oh, I'll put on my A game then." That's so Corey of her.
Well, and I think that that's another thing, too, that contributes to anxiety because her heart may have been beating more at that time. And maybe that's something that triggers that different type of heart rhythm. So I think, again, anxiety could be a trigger for what's going on. And it can also exacerbate or make worse what's going on, too. So,
which was Taylor's point as well, is that all this stuff goes hand in hand.
Yeah, definitely. So I think they recommended just some meditation and some yoga. Cheyenne was telling Corey pretty much what was going on, and she said that she found a yoga instructor that she liked, and she plans to schedule a session at her house and at Corey's house, which I think is a good idea to just have the family all do it together. It's not going to hurt anyone.
No, it'll probably even be good for the little ones. I mean, Corey's youngest also has heart issues too, so that might be good for them to start all of them on that. I know the little one's still pretty little, but it'd be good to get in that routine. So then this way, if they have the same issues with Maya down the road, they know what steps they can take to at least help the situation as much as possible. Like you said, it's not going to hurt anybody to do yoga or some meditation or things like that. It's really good for you. And to learn it at such a young age is really good coping skills for later in life.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you know what the hell happened to Corey. Did something happen to him on the challenge? Why is he limping around like that?
Oh, well, now I'm trying to think of what time frame this might have been in. I mean, he wasn't just in this last season of the challenge. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's probably going to come to me and bother me, so maybe I'll add it to the comments if I remember. Or if anyone else remembers that watches the challenge, remind me.
Yeah, so I was wondering, maybe he got hurt doing the challenge. He could have even got hurt working out or something, but I don't know if y'all know what happened to Corey's leg at any point in time, because I don't really follow them much on Instagram, but...
Was it just a brace?
He had a whole walking stick thing. Crutch. He had a whole crutch. And I was like, what the hell happened to Corey?
Yeah, someone let us know in the comments if you remember, or if I remember, I'll drop a comment. I'll talk to Tyler about it later. My husband watches the challenge with me.
I am just as concerned for Corey's health as Ryder's right now. Both of them seem a little down and out.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like with this family, there's always a problem going on with somebody, a heart problem, a knee problem, an anxiety problem. They tackle the issues well, but they have a lot going on.
Did you see, actually, Corey out MTV recently? I don't know if he was live or whatever. I'm assuming he was Instagram live, but he said that whole storyline last season about Christmas and him not telling Cheyenne and all that whole thing was made up, that MTV wanted them to do that. But he's like, do you think I really didn't tell Cheyenne about something like that in advance, seeing our whole co-parenting relationship? He's like, no, MTV just wanted something.
Was that like an Ask Me Anything type of... I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
So there we go.
I mean, yeah, I know. I always question a lot of this stuff. It sucks that some whole storylines are producer driven. I think that that's disappointing. But I do always even question just these conversations too. I mean, even later on when we see Leah and she's talking about her dad and what's going on with his health, there are some really clear voiceovers at some points during the conversation that make me question the timeline of what went on with that too. And sometimes I think they're just trying to make the storyline make more sense and make it more concise. But sometimes I think they have obviously other motives. I don't know. I'd like it to be as authentic as possible. I know it has to be entertaining, but I don't want it to be made up.
Well, they got to make something up because these people are getting less and less entertaining by the moment, except for Amber.
And I don't want to watch her.
No. Yeah. Anyways,
Leah's dad did that again this episode
I
on the
know.
way to the coffee shop. Anyway, so Cheyenne takes Ryder over to the ice cream shop and she explains to her that she is in fact right when she's feeling the things that are going on with her heart, but that there's nothing wrong with her heart and that she's safe, but that it would be a good idea to probably do some things for the anxiety that she feels about her heart. And she seemed really excited about yoga.
Yeah, when I watched this scene, my husband sometimes listens and he's like, how old is that kid? And I was like, she's got to be like 6 or 7 or something like that. And he's like, wow, she sounds like she's in middle school. Why is that? And I'm like, because some of these parents are parenting their kids right and are very honest with their kids and explain things in a child-friendly way, but still being honest with them instead of just sheltering them. Ryder is a very well-rounded kid because the way she's communicated with, and that's how some kids tend to be if you're honest and open with them. I mean, Nova's the same way. So is Holly. All 3 of those girls are very well-spoken. And it's because they're nurtured. It's like a plant almost. Like the more care and
you have to talk to them and have that back and forth. I mean, it happens through modeling and doing and parents asking questions, not just saying, do this, do that. Instead of giving so many directives, you have to sort of explore with your kids what are their feelings and thoughts. Even if they're not going to run the show. I mean, they shouldn't be running the show, but you should still be very in tune with how they feel. That's a practice for them.
Yeah, he was like, we're going to do that. It's like, I mean, that's the plan.
That's what we're going to talk to our kids,
That is the plan, sir.
But I also know Cheyenne lives, at least now, in an area where she has access to a lot of really nice private schools. Although some of the other kids that we were referring to, like Nova and Holly and stuff, I don't think they could be in private school too. I don't know. I don't know their situation. I just know that.
I feel like Tyler and Caitlin would rebel against private school.
Probably. But at what point too is being in public school sort of a distraction when you're a public figure when you're 9, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious, but I do know that Ryder is in a school with other children of public figures.
Sure, which makes it easier on her. I mean, her show is the lesser of all those shows,
but just another kid Ryder.
Even with the other young ones, I think it's easier for them because what does their generation know about Teen Mom and all that? So maybe when they become teenagers, but even then, probably the show won't be a thing anymore, and their friends are probably less likely to find out anything unless they specifically Google them.
True.
But anyways, moving on to Leah and her dad's situation. So she found out that her dad has some kind of kidney cancer. He's been having struggles like going to the bathroom and just he's been in a lot more pain since he's been in recovery. Yeah. And obviously a big part of that is because he's been on pain pills for so long. They don't really know how long he's been dealing with this stuff because when you're on those kinds of things, you don't feel pain the way normal people do. Just like a lot of addictions, honestly. You kind of can skate through some of these ailments for a while until it all comes crashing down on you.
Yeah, almost all drugs, and they all affect people differently, but they do have a numbing effect on your emotions, on your physical feelings. And so I think a lot of the big worry in the theme for Leah this episode is wondering how long really has this all been going on for him, especially because he does seem to be in so much pain now that possibly he neglected his health because he either didn't know what was going on, or when you're in that state of mind, your health really isn't your main concern at all. They definitely seem really worried. So I think what's going on here is they're getting a colonoscopy because they want to make sure that the cancer in his kidney has not spread anywhere else. And I think it's most likely that it would go to this area. She ends up taking him to the colonoscopy, and then all of a sudden she was at her sister's house.
He was recovering still. I believe he's living with her sister, but when she took him, I did feel bad when he was kind of struggling to get into the car. As much as it was kind of nice to see Leah's ass there, she'll be looking good. But
Okay.
Yeah, her whole butt. Actually, that's not the best picture of it, but I was like, okay, girl, it's some junk in the trunk, but
she has a nice figure, Leah. She always has.
Yeah. Seeing her dad struggle like that was pretty hard to watch. It sucks that when people go through recovery and they take that big step, that they can have these kinds of things happen. But it's good because at least they can catch it and hopefully do something about it in time to where he can live a fuller life instead of if he was still on that stuff, it would just keep progressing and spreading. And he would probably be a lot worse off if not gone earlier. So
yeah, totally. I think for him, it probably feels a little bit backwards when he's in pain, but really it's a good thing that he's feeling this pain so that he can get it taken care of and managed. Because if he was, like you said, still on that medication, he wouldn't know, and it probably could spread further. Leah is also very concerned, especially hearing some of the things that her dad was saying, that this pain could trigger a relapse, which I think is definitely very possible. He's pretty early on in his recovery, and it's not exactly clear if he's committed to that yet, based on what what he was saying. It seems like he's romanticizing using a little bit, at least at this stage.
It's going to have to be a choice for him to stay clean regardless. They will have to sometimes probably prescribe him things like pain medications and stuff like that. Although I don't know how it works when they know you are an addict. I think that maybe they just get a lower dose, or they try to accommodate that by giving out more of a higher strength ibuprofen or something like that instead.
Yeah, there's some non-narcotic drugs that can be used, but I know a lot of people, I think Leah actually is somebody who's talked about this, although I can't reference exactly when it was, so if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. But I think a lot of people who are recovering, especially from prescription drugs, just choose not to use those at all. They just go through pain, dealing with pain. And not masking it at all, which can sound pretty brutal, but the other end, if you know how bad addiction is and how quickly it can happen, that's also pretty brutal as well. So yeah, I think a lot of people just make the choice not to take any at all, but there's also non-narcotic type of drugs that can be less addicting. So it kind of just, it's all a personal choice, and we'll see how he navigates this all. So he goes to the follow-up, and they do get good news that the cancer has not spread, but it is obviously still in his kidneys. But the procedure for that is just an outpatient type of procedure where they burn it off and then they're going to monitor and make sure it doesn't come back. So it seems like they actually caught it rather quickly, and hopefully it doesn't come back and everything should be good to go.
It makes me wonder if it's in both of his kidneys, because I know you can live without one of your kidneys. So it makes me wonder if it is in both of his kidneys, which is why they have to do it that way, or if they're really just trying to avoid taking out a kidney, because it does change your health a lot. You will get weaker. You will have to bounce back from that. Yeah. And it will be harder for somebody his age. But totally. Yeah, I mean,
and someone in recovery like that too. They're probably just trying to be like the least invasive.
He seems like he's really about staying in recovery. Like, even though he might have his weak moments, man, it would probably be easier if I had a pain pill. I don't think he actually would take one, or at least I hope, I should say, because who knows? I hope that he actually does feel that way, because when Leah's talking to him about her concerns, he's very validating. He's like, why would I go back to that? I finally have my daughters back in my life, my grandkids. And I think that probably means more to him at this point than an addiction, because especially if you're fighting something like cancer, you don't want to go through that alone. So who wants to go through that alone, especially when it's something life-threatening like cancer? Because regardless of what kind of cancer you have, it's still something that can take your life. I think if it is going to come down to that he would at least want his grandkids around and his daughters around to at least have those last moments with. I'm glad we can get RuPaul in on this, though. It's quite
always with the RuPaul. He's just there. Yeah, every single time he pops in at least once. So watch RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know what day it's on.
They're still running.
Yeah, I've probably seen 2 episodes on accident. I know it's really popular though.
It's really popular. I used to go to school with a girl that just loved that show, and I was like, maybe I'll have to give it a try. I know it's a lot of drama, which is really nice.
Totally. I mean, I used to love that Tyra Banks model show, and it's kind of similar, but for drag star. I'm sure I would love it.
But either way, so Leah decides to tell her girls this, and she's more confident about what's going on, and she needed answers first before she went and told the girl like all this stuff. Like, I think she just didn't want to worry them before she had as many answers as she could get. So she tells them about the diagnosis of cancer, the possible treatments, and everything like that. And her girls do seem a bit concerned. I mean, this guy just came back into their life, so they don't really want to lose that. And I think that they do want to see him. And they also probably feel for their mom. I mean, this is also their mom's dad. You can see tears in Leah's eyes as she's telling them this. She's fighting it so hard because it's hard for her. I mean, that's her dad, I think, at the end of the day. And she's just getting this relationship back with him. And imagine if she would have just kept cutting him off, because she originally did not want to even entertain this relationship.
Yeah, but even if he was sober, I think she was still having a hard time really grappling with that. It's got to be so hard, especially now, to think that she could lose him to something other than addiction as well. That's really been her main focus. Not that she thought it was impossible, but it just isn't something she probably thought would happen for quite a while. So I hope that he stays into remission, as he's around for a long time to see his grandkids.
Me too. I cannot watch another parent on this show be lost to cancer. That's
I know.
I know.
I know. I feel like that's what's going to end the show for me. I can't not watch these girls lose their parents. No.
It's just too difficult. I have a feeling there's going to be a call with Mackenzie coming in the future if his cancer progresses, which I don't really wish that on either of those girls, because I think Mackenzie is still very much healing from what she went through, but she would also be a good person to talk to, advice if you're going through that. But they love to intermingle the storylines. So
they really do. Maybe they'll visit each other.
There might be another visit. He's moving on to Jade, which Jade was going to be the grand finale for us, but we'll get into some of Amber's shenanigans later.
Popping off online.
popping the hell off. So stay tuned for our thoughts on some of Amber's lives. Jade is visiting with friends and talking about her car accident that she was recently in. Apparently it was a pretty bad car accident, and she's still pretty shaken up by that. I've been in a car accident before, and I was pretty shaken up for weeks, even though it wasn't my fault. So it doesn't matter whose fault car accidents are. It's still something like you never expect to get into, and when you get into one, it is pretty like, oh shit. Like, and still to this day, like I got into a car accident at a four-way stop. So every time I go to a four-way stop, like even if somebody like far up the road and they have to come, I wait for that person to make a complete stop before I go, because what happened to me was I stopped and it was my turn, so I went, but the person who was coming that way was going like 50 and never stopped and about killed me. It's not even about trusting yourself driving, it's about other people at that point. Anything can happen. That's why I get kind of cringed out when I see these like openly texting and driving, being on the show and things like that.
With their kids in the back and stuff. Yeah.
Even if Dean's watching a video when we drive, I'm like, can you wait till I'm not in the car or something? Like, if you want to risk your own life, whatever, but you're not going to risk mine. Yeah. And, it takes your eyes 15 seconds to readjust to the road and stuff like that. Like, I'll put on videos and listen to them.
Right. But my screen is turned around far away. I'm not going to put something on the car that I feel the need to watch.
Exactly. Like if it's a show or if it's reels or something like that, I can watch that stuff at home. If it's like something I'm fine just listening to, like, I might like look at the phone to switch to a different video real quick, but that like I'm not gonna sit there and do anything but listen. If it's a podcast, great, because I don't even have a need to watch anything, and then I can kind of do my own little movie in my head while I'm driving. So Jada reached out to Christy after all this because like even though her mom on some stuff, she's still there for her if something big happens. So she went to Christy, and Christy did let her know that she did relapse, which I think was pretty obvious to us when she went into drug tests to come over and see Jade or her kid. So,
but she was in denial for a long time. So at least we've broken that barrier now that her daughter almost died.
Or could have. I don't know how bad this accident.
I mean, no matter what, I think any type of accident, it always kind of reminds you, even if it was small, this could have been much worse. We all kind of have those moments, like you said, and it's scary, no matter how big or small it is. I definitely can get how her mom wanted to come clean to her, because I hope that she felt guilty. My daughter could have really gotten hurt today or worse. And, I'm over here lying to her about my behaviors and making her feel bad about it. Get out of here with that.
So Jade has the idea to start some kind of family therapy with her family. She asked Sean for about 5 seconds, what worked for you? But she knew what worked for Sean. She's like, exactly. That's why I wanted to family.
No, she already had found a therapist at that point. And that was definitely a producing.
Just to get Sean involved in something.
Like, good for Sean, right? 3 years, she said. So claps for that.
So then we go over to her actually meeting up with her grandmother and her aunt, and her grandma looks younger than Christy. That's how hard Christy's hitting this stuff, I think. Christy be looking rode hard and put away wet. Like, she is
always,
look like she's going through it. Like, her mom looks great.
Yeah, she must be benefiting from those facials that is giving.
That, and she must have also been a young parent herself. I feel like this is a cycle going this. She's probably like 47. I don't know. She's definitely probably like 57. No, Jade's in her 20s, so Christy could be like in her early 40s.
If you had a baby every 20 years, which is very possible. I mean, Jade had a baby before that. Then this woman is 60 or younger.
I think she's in her 50s.
But either way, she's looking good. It seems like what's been going on for a while is that these two ladies have been covering up for Big Gulp. And now that Jade is letting them know that she knows what's going on and she'd like to do something about it, all of a sudden they ran over to Jade's side and they want to do something about it, which I'm here for. But I just feel for Jade. I feel for all of them. I know that they must feel like they're put in bad situations to have to lie to Christy's daughter, Jade, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much did you believe that they didn't know she relapsed when Jade was like, she told me she relapsed? I'm like, she relapsed?
No, I think they were that surprised that Christy told her. I think they knew. But they didn't know that Jade knew until she sat them down and said, I know. And then they're like, she told you. And that's why at least she made the decision to tell the truth. And I'm like, girl, it's been months. Cool. I'm glad she made that decision too. But it had to take Jade getting into a literal car accident for that to happen. So I think that that's pretty sad.
But when Jade starts bringing up the family therapy session, they were spot on. They're like, do you know your mom? It's not going to go over well.
Look at that face. She looks like Voldemort himself.
He does right there. Avada Kedavra. He does right there. That is not a good shot of her.
That is like fear and terror and anger, all the emotions at the thought of bringing this to.
She don't know what to do. She's like, your mom is strong. Jade's like, but she's not fast.
I know. Yeah, they seem to all be on the same page that Christy's not going to like this, but that it is also a good idea. I feel like we've been here before, but I do think that a little bit of the difference with this is the psychologist coming in and just having some one-on-one therapy, like Sean said. I think that that's a good idea. I think it should have happened after she went to rehab so that she can be sober and not be using. You can definitely increase your motivation and your clarity about what's going on when you're in therapy too, and that can also either bring you to be sober somehow or to go back to treatment or whatever. So I think it would be a great idea. She obviously has mental health issues going on, but I just think it's kind of crazy that Christy doesn't think that Jade understands that she has mental health issues. How can you think that your daughter knows that little about you? I know she doesn't have much to do with you these days. It's obvious that you're depressed. It's obvious, that's what makes people use drugs. Usually some kind of mental health issue. People don't just want to live like that.
For addicts, it's harder for them to see other people's perspectives, I think. So maybe that's what. And she's also got that attitude of I'm your mom, so I know more than you kind of situation.
And yet here she was at that point back in that episode at the birthday party, lying to everyone, right? Lying her pants off, defensiveness everywhere, projection everywhere. You guys are wrong.
Yeah.
Liar. You're a liar.
It's your fault. Jade is meeting up then with her aunt and her cousin to go over the plan, which I knew this plan wasn't going to be a good start to the plan.
Because the plan at first is to bring her to therapy, maybe have a family therapy session and have this all happen sort of slowly and organically and nicely. And then we get this phone call from the aunt that's up in arms and chaotic, and grandma's in the hospital and your mom's gouging her eyeballs out. And so now we need to meet tomorrow and we need to basically have an intervention. And I think the whole plan changes completely at this point from let's let her make the decision to you need to go somewhere or do something about it. And it kind of starts to get chaotic here.
Yeah, I think that's when they lost me a little. I'm like, yeah, Christy's not going to do well with this. I think it would have been easier to just still treat it like a family therapy session and let Christy buy into that and slowly get her to where she needs to be. I think it's supposed to be a process because we got to remember we're dealing with Christy. She blows up all the time. So
I think that they let the aunt's chaotic emotions sort of speed things up and make things feel more urgent than they needed to be because the grandma's in the hospital. I think that this aunt is well-intended. I can't remember her name, but I think she's well-intended, but I think she is a little bit selfish. It's always, well, we have to do this now and it's all urgent because she's not going to do this to my mom and blah, blah, blah. But this is not going to be effective for anybody if you guys just go and blow this all up again, which is exactly what, ends up happening.
It's a hard space to be in because I'm sure she wants her mom to stop worrying about her daughter because it's probably physically hurting her as well. It's probably causing her stress and anxiety, which could also down the line lead to other issues. So I'm sure she wants to do right by her mom, and I'm sure she just wants to get her sister help. But I don't think she's thinking clearly in the moment because of the hospital situation. Jade or somebody should have been like, well, let's just give this a couple of days. Let's focus on grandma's health first. And then once grandma's stable and okay, because my mom's probably not going to change within the next week.
Imagine how grandma's going to feel when Big Gulp Christy calls her in the hospital. They tried to do an intervention. They ambushed me. She's
going yeah. I think that their original plan was a lot better. I will see the repercussions of what happens next. So she meets with her aunt and cousin, kind of go over their intervention style. And apparently, they want everybody to be there. The cousin wants to start off with, well, we love you. And we all know Christy's not going to take well to that. She's going to know exactly what's going on.
Intervention before.
Yeah. So basically, they do all gather for dinner. And I do think it was fine for them to gather for dinner. I think what they should have done was just be like, we're thinking about family therapy. What do you think about going to family therapy? Just bring up that.
That was the original plan. Yes, they should have just stuck with that. Even if they were going to rush into, we're going to tell you this today instead of whatever, they should have just stuck with that. I don't know what they thought they were going to do with her at this, but we're all here because we love you and we want you to get treatment. But then what? Then she's just going to go use more until when? It's not like they're actually on intervention unless MTV was willing to sweep her away to some treatment center or something. I mean, I don't know what they thought they were doing here.
Or they were going to Dr. Filler and have people waiting in the wings ready to capture her.
Are you guys going to tie her down and detox her for the next 2 weeks? Like, what's going on? What's the plan after this? If it goes well, which we all knew it wouldn't. So I guess what's the point of a plan?
And Christy's eyes did look pretty rough. Like it does look like she's been scratching them things out. It looked like she could barely even open them, which makes me feel really bad for her. I'm glad she's wearing a different shirt though. Same colors, but different shirt. I thought it was the same shirt, but this one's long sleeve. So
this one is long sleeve. Yep. And it's soft. It makes me want to pet her.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't. She seems like she'd bite. If you might get rabies. Of course, the aunt just starts off by saying, Christy, tonight you're here because we love you. And she couldn't even get the sentence out. Christy was like, oh, hell no.
This aunt derails the plans every single effing time. She's almost just as bad as Big Gulp. I swear. Like, she's not on drugs.
To say it. It was supposed to be the cousin.
She was warming her way up. I know she seemed a little more anxious than she did when Big Gulp wasn't there, but now Big Gulp is, she's a little bit intimidating. She was working her way there, and bam, we're here because we love you.
And then boom, oh hell no. She said, nope, I ain't doing this. Just sit down. You know what's so funny to me is I was watching a reel. It was like a week before this episode dropped, and I've been waiting to talk about this since I saw this preview. But the girl in the reel, there's this trend going around, right, where people are envisioning themselves and like trying to meet up with your younger self at a coffee shop, what you would be talking to your younger self about. And the girl was like, yeah, I would do that, but my younger self was addicted to crack. So my younger self would have thought this is a setup and wouldn't have showed up. And that's exactly the addict mentality. And we see it here with Christy. This is a setup.
She was so mad.
She was so mad. And then it became Jade having to defend herself until all she could say was just, okay. And it just derailed within moments. And we knew that would happen. I knew at the moment they were going to confront her with, we're all here because we love you. I knew Christy wasn't going to be able to handle that very well at all.
That's not going to work, especially from her sister. And her sister knew as much. I mean, that's what she was worried about. So I don't know why she opened her big mouth. She needs to let this happen slowly and quietly, sort of like you were talking about with your nephew. It needs to just be like, swoop under the radar and like, bam, now we're talking about recovery and you didn't even know it. It's just, it has to happen like that.
You can't force a horse to water and make it drink. You got to lead it to water. You can't just plop it down right in front of water and force it to drink. They really, I think, missed this great opportunity that they had. They had Christy in their house with everybody there. I think they could have said,
for a while.
They didn't have to even make it fully about Christy. They could have said, I think we've all been through some things. And I think as a family, we've been divided in certain areas. And I think we could better communicate about certain things. I think we should do like a family therapy session. Right. And then let the psychologist handle it from there. Let the trained professional help guide. I think if they would have had the psychologist there at this family dinner, Chrissy would have automatically knew it was set up either way. But I think
I don't think that would have been good. But yeah, I think they needed to just go with the original plan. Hey, we know that you're still using. Have you thought about going to therapy? We're not going to drag you to counseling. We're not going to drag you to a rehab facility. Just have you thought about talking to somebody on your own time, being honest with yourself? That's all. That's all they had to do. Instead, just had to do the pew pew.
And then everyone's telling her to get over things that are years old and things like that. I know you got a mental health problem. I know blah, blah, blah. And that's the thing with somebody who's already in depression and stuff. That's the last thing they care to hear is that they just need to move on. I think they just should have kept it to let's think about like a family therapy session where we all go. We can all get out some of our feelings and things like that in a safe space. I think Chrissy would have been a lot more receptive to that than this. She never even took her purse off because she didn't feel comfortable. So,
she looked at her not husband and said, come get me, we're late.
Sadly, Christy does just storm out of there as fast as she can. Although it wasn't that fast, like Jade said.
Yeah, she waddled her way out. Her sister even tried to run behind her, and she was still screaming all the way out the door. It was just chaotic. Like you said, it really was a missed opportunity. This could have gone well, and I'm not blaming Jade, definitely. I'm not even really blaming the aunt. I just think she's a little bit too emotional. I think they do all need some family therapy, but I wish Christy could get healthy.
It definitely needs to be a family thing because the whole family is involved. You got people covering up for her. Everybody knows. So it's a family affair. So if the whole family's not involved, it's not going to work. But at the end of it all, Jade just is like, I'm a mother and I need to think about myself first and my daughter. And I love my mom no matter what. But basically, she's going to have to come to terms with some things on her own. Jade can't be her parent anymore. It's up to Christy to make those decisions, just like it was up to Leah's dad. And if it means that Christy's not around for a while, then I guess that's kind of what it means.
Right. It seems like Jade, after this accident, is trying to figure out a way to not have her mom completely out of her life and not have her mom feel like she can't be honest with her, but also for Jade to figure out a way to be okay and accept whatever state that her mom's in. And that's a really hard place to be because you're always going to be emotionally affected by what your parent does, especially when they're doing things that are concerning and unhealthy. And even if you can have a lot of boundaries, you're still going to have emotions about it. It's good for Jade to try this out, but it's a really hard place to be emotionally, to be connected to somebody who is not making good choices. It's always going to cause some kind of pain. I'm not saying it's impossible, but she's going to have to really take good care of herself to deal with all that.
Looks like she is. She looks great this season.
She does, and she has a really supportive husband, and her home life is very stable. I think she's in a really good place to be able to manage the chaos of her mom, and she can always turn it off. She has really good boundaries, so she can always rely on those boundaries to keep things separate now. It's her mom is her mom. She's gonna make her own choices no matter what Jade wants, and I think it's gonna cause continued heartbreak for Jade.
Sadly. For someone else dealing with continued heartbreak, let's go over to our teen mom, Gary. So Gary is actually getting in touch with a lawyer to start this adoption process. I think he really just wants some questions answered. He's got a few questions about how the process is going to go. He sets up an appointment for a consultation, and then we immediately see him and Kristina go to the consultation. So they meet up with this lady, and they talk about what's been going on between Amber and Leah, that Leah hasn't seen Amber but 4 days this year, and probably those filming days. She isn't even up to date on her child support. It's not anything that's through the court, and that she's behind. But I don't know. Maybe that's why they think it might be more of a struggle, is because I think Amber is paying for Leah. She was, at least for a while. But if she's actually behind, then shame on this woman. Like, she's literally up the road, and she can't put a check in someone's mailbox.
But it sounded to me like it was through the court, but that it's not enforced. Like, Gary is not going after her for back child support, but that she's not paying it.
See, I don't think they ever went to court about custody, but maybe you guys know. If you guys know, let us know in the comments if they ever went to court about custody, because I think Gary just automatically got custody when she went to prison, and then she just never fought anything to keep things out of the court. Because it seems like her first real experience with the court and custody was with Andrew.
I think when she went to jail and all of that, I think that there was more to that. I think an agreement happened at that point, and then I'm pretty sure you have to share your financial information at that point, and then they set child support based on that. I don't think you go back to court every time, but I have no idea what I'm talking about. So please help to inform us.
Let us know what you guys know.
And I know every state is different, and all the things are different, of course, too. But feel free to share your experiences about that if you have experiences. I know a lot of people deal with courts and custody and child support and all of that. But either way, I mean, it seems like she's not paying something that she is supposed to be paying. I don't know who said she's supposed to pay it or what, but she's not fulfilling the obligations that she said she was going to fulfill. And that is clear. And then at the same time, I think the lawyer making the point about substantial contact is important too. To just come over and say hi for 20 minutes or have a dinner is not necessarily contact with your child. There's probably been no substantial contact at all.
In years. I've always heard that she had the most contact with Leah when she was with Matt Bayer. But I think Matt Bayer was doing a lot of the stuff. Because I remember there were times where Leah didn't want to go over there because Matt did everything with her and her mom wouldn't even get out of bed.
I know.
So
yeah. I think Amber really is a bad mom. I do think she cares about her kids, but I don't think she knows how to care about her kids. I don't think she knows how to show them love. And I think even if she did, she wouldn't if it was inconvenient to her. I think she's a sad excuse for a mom. I just wish almost that she didn't care about her kids at that point, because that just makes someone question their value so much. And we see that now as Leah gets older.
The lawyer says that they have a pretty good case for an adoption. It could be anywhere between 60 days up to a year if Amber contests, which we know Amber will contest. As she says, we have enough substantial evidence, I think, to prove that she has basically abandoned her child. She's given every opportunity and doesn't show up for her child. I think that there's a lot of basis to say that this could go through. And it makes me wonder, maybe, I'll play devil's advocate for a second. Gary almost seemed like it would be harder. Like maybe there is some texts or things like that. But I think they're more recent texts, and Leah doesn't want to see Amber now. So I think Amber is now trying a little bit more as of recently, but it's too late at this point. She didn't try at the right times for her child. Now that her child has all these abandonment issues and has trauma from her and doesn't really want her around, now Amber probably is texting every now and then like, when can I see my daughter? When can I spend time with my daughter? You should make her spend time with me. Remember the times where Leah wanted to just be with her friends and Amber's like, well, I'm more important than them.
And that can be really hard for kids of divorced parents, because as you get older, you may only have 2 weekends with your dad. That's kind of a regular custody situation. I know that it's pretty common. Nowadays, I think they split it up a lot more where people kind of shift on like a Wednesday and a Sunday and they stretch it out. But I know for a lot of custody situations, it's pretty common to have every other weekend type of situation. And maybe not much more than that. And when a teenager starts to want to hang out with their friends, and 2 of those weekends out of 4 weekends, they're locked up at one parent's house because that's the only time that parent gets to spend. Those are really tough decisions, I think, for everybody. But that's real. That's not Amber being withheld from her daughter. Leah probably really wanted to go hang out with her friends. It puts a lot of pressure on everybody to have split up households, and especially more so when parents are not compassionate and understanding. And so they put the pressure on their kids to have to deal with that. It's like, you're the one who created a life and then didn't make a single home for me to live in. So it's going to be hard for everybody.
After this meeting, they do decide to relay all the information to Leah, basically that they can do the adoption if that's what she truly wants to do, but it will take some time. I thought it was interesting that the lawyer said that that would sever the ties as well, which I don't think anyone wants to sever the tie completely, but Leah does want that piece of paper said it means more to her than that, which I think is interesting because when they do tell Leah all this, she's like, well, then Amber's going to fight it for 2 years, and then by then it won't even matter. I've seen adults get adopted. If that's what you truly want to do, I don't think it matters what age you are. If Kristina is your mom to you and you just want that piece of paper and it means more to you than the piece of paper, then I think you should continue with it, even though it could be a year or two battle with Amber. I don't think that that's going to matter. If that's what you want and that's what truly means the most to you, it doesn't matter if you're 18 when it happens or 12 when it happens. I've seen adults get adopted well after being an adult. Like, remember Ayana in season 2? She was adopted by people like her own age.
It happens all the time, for sure. And Leah, I'm glad that she's in therapy because I think she just has some more building of her assertiveness skills to do at. Because I think she does want to follow through with this. I think she's just coming to terms now with the fact that Amber's going to be aware that this is happening. She's going to have an opportunity to contest it. We all know Amber's going to contest it. And I think she's really thinking about what that's going to look like. And if she's prepared to say to a judge, possibly while her mom is in the room, that this is what she wants. And I don't think, in fact, I know because she just said to Cheyenne, she's never said that to her mom. She's never even come close to sharing those things with her mom, which is fine. She's entitled to keep those things to herself. But I think she's going to have to do some more work in therapy in order to get to a place that she could actually go through with an adoption.
Which is what Gary recommends to her. So how about you just take this to your therapist and you just think on it for a little while. We're not in a rush to do anything. But it seems like this is something Leah truly wants. And Kristina's on board. Gary's on board. I think Gary is now just concerned about if something does happen to him. Why this picture? But
I took 3 different pictures of him right here. He just looks like this. Okay.
Okay.
This was the best of 3. I'll tell you right now.
His eyes be looking worse than Jade's mom's. This
was a long day for Gary. Okay.
It was for Gary.
It's like he's in his boxers.
He just wants to do the right thing by his daughter. Gary hasn't always been the best person, I think, in the beginning seasons and stuff, but he really does want what's best for Leah in the long run and what Leah actually wants. And Kristina is the same way, even though this face, I don't know.
It was a long day for both of them, okay?
The Zoom, not the Zoom. But
I've never seen Kristina look more like a...
It's the Cheez-Its.
But with the wide eyes, she was holding those Cheez-Its like they were... She had them like this at some point. I think she was nervous. She was just...
Yeah. You want to Cheez-It? Kristina does a really good job of not inserting her opinion at all. It's just about what Leah wants. And she's willing to do whatever Leah wants. But it's mainly Gary having the conversations with the lawyer, with Leah. And I think she's really good about trying to stay as neutral as possible because nobody here wants to hurt Amber's feelings. But we all know that Amber is a nutcase that'll go on live and drag them all to hell with her.
Yeah, totally.
If she catches wind of anything. She can't control herself. I do feel bad that Leah, even though she wants something, is going to probably regress a little bit in that just because she's afraid of what Amber's going to do. I don't even know if it's about hurting Amber's feelings at this point because Amber has hurt her feelings time and time and time again. But I think it's about the backlash of, is my mom going to go live and just drag everybody and call my dad a R word and this and that? Even Gary now, he corrects himself when he calls Amber her mom. He'll be like, your mom, Amber. Because I think Leah told him, don't call that woman my mom. She's not my mom.
Yeah, she's done with her.
Yeah. Well, she can't be because now we got Amber going live all the time. Oh, I know I love this scene. I want my mommy hug. And that just made me so sad because, you know, Leah deserves to have Kristina as her mom legally if that's what she wants. Some people don't care. Some people are just like, you are my mom and, you know, that is enough for me. But Leah seems to actually want the piece of paper that says Kristina is her mom. Not saying that needs to sever her ties completely with Amber. If one day she wants to have a relationship with Amber, that is what it is. But I mean, we all know Amber. Amber might be like, fine, that ain't my kid no more then.
Right.
Like, you can't. She looks like me, blah, 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 blah. She's just another me. Like, I can't stand that woman. But anyway, so recently Amber has been blowing up on live, and I'm sure we've all heard about it. Obviously, with the last live, she was saying Leah don't know trauma. Like, she knows trauma, so there ain't no way Leah has trauma. Now it's become F you to MTV, F you to Macy and Caitlin. She doesn't even watch the show. Her mom's like relaying scenes to her, and she's not even actually watching it. So she has no idea.
Figure out it was her mom. I didn't know that.
She said it in a live that her mom told her about the scene with Cheyenne and Jade. So I'm assuming that her mom told her about all the other scenes as well. Right. But Amber, admittedly, does not actually sit down and watch the show. Like, why don't you? It's another view for you and your.
You miss your daughter so much and whatever. I mean, this show features your daughter and almost your daughter exclusively and not your story anymore. So if you're so disconnected and so sad, I would be eating up every moment. If everyone else in the world is watching my daughter on national television talk about how she feels, you better believe that I'm also doing that too.
Well, when you want to live in denial, you'll go to great lengths to avoid confronting what's actually going on with your daughter. She thinks that all this is just because of Gary and Kristina and things that they must be feeding her and things like that, because James is fine. But let's not forget, James and Andrew were stuck in Indiana for 2 years because Andrew wanted to go back to California right away. And the judge said, James needs contact with his mother. Like, he needs visitation. So what did Andrew do? He kept a log of how many times Amber was dismissing visitation, how much she was not showing up. And after 2 years of it, the judge just saw that and was like, all right, you can go back to California. There's no reason for you to be here if she's not going to go to visitation. So she's doing the same thing to James, but she wants to gaslight us all into thinking, oh, well, James is perfectly fine when he sees me. It's great. Well, it was like that with Leah for a long time.
She can say whatever she wants when there's no camera crew around. She can't film with James. She can't film with Andrew, so she can color in the narrative as much as she wants. She can say things are great when they're not. She can say things are bad when they're great. It's all up to her. That's kind of the double-edged sword of deciding not to film, is that you lose all control of your narrative. Someone can say anything they want, kind of like with Brandon and Teresa with Kate and Ty.
Exactly. Although you guys should definitely listen to their most recent episode of their podcast. They actually go a lot more into that situation, and I think it's pretty eye-opening. I think it helped me understand some things about their adoption as well. So definitely check out their latest podcast episode. It's on Apple Podcasts, on Patreon, all types of different platforms. But anyways, I am so tempted because back when all this machete stuff originally happened, I did message Andrew Glennon, and I don't even remember what I said, but it was some kind of message of support or whatever. I never thought I'd get a response, but he did respond to me. So I can actually DM Andrew, and I kind of want to just be like, does James actually feel this way? Or how do you feel about this crazy woman?
Right. Or is she even really actually attending any of her visitations? I think that would say a lot, you know?
Yeah, I'm just so curious. I would love to actually get an answer from him about that. So I don't know.
I'm always tempted. What's he going to do? Not respond?
I know. I'm always tempted to just send him a quick DM. I don't know if you've been seeing all the chaos going on, but she keeps bringing you and your son up like things are so great on this end. How do you feel? I'm just curious. I just need to know. But I don't know if he actually wants his opinions out there when it comes to her, you know. Either way, but we'll see. I might do it. We never know. But she also on this live says that she's going to single-handedly get the show canceled. She's just up in arms about the show. Apparently she has a gerb, which who knows what the hell that is. It's got to be staying at home.
She's probably so delusional. It sounds like she thinks her job is an executive producer of Teen Mom. I mean, this girl is nowhere on the credits or anything. I don't know why she thinks that this is her show. She was on the pilot, yes, but she didn't create the show. There's an actual show creator on the credits. I don't remember who their name is, but it says that.
She thinks she started this whole thing because she was the first one that they followed, but they were going to follow somebody regardless of whether or not you signed up or it was Macy or whatever. I get Macy is actually the first episode, but I know they followed Amber first. It's just stupid to me, though, to be like, I'm the reason we're all here. No, you're not. Somebody watched Juno and they decided to make a show similar to that because it's a real thing that was going around at that time. Honestly, the show, I remember when the show premiered, it was based off the premise of the Juno movie, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's a movie back in 2008 that I remember going to see in theaters, actually.
That's my dad's like favorite movie. Still to this
so good. Yeah. It's so good. It's about a teenage girl that gets pregnant in high school and then gives her baby up for adoption. But it's a beautiful movie. It's funny. It's sad. It's got all the things. But that's what the premise of 16 and Pregnant was based on, was this movie, because that movie was so popular. It's like a cult classic pretty much at this point for people our age, especially because we all went to theaters to see it. Just like Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant and all that is like for our generation because we're the ones who lived through all of that, got to watch week to week.
That's why we're still here.
Yep. So it's not because of Amber. The show would have happened regardless. And I'm so sick of this God complex that she has, that she is the end all be all of this show. If she's not on it, it's not going to happen. She can blow this whole thing up and F Macy and Caitlin for not telling her about the horrible thing, which we all got to watch on TV. Like, just say it. That your daughter wanted to be adopted. And it's not anyone else's fault. You can be mad at Gary all you want for not communicating this to you and communicating it on TV before communicating it to you. That's a valid reason to be upset. Right. But I mean, you're so volatile.
It's not anyone else's fault, though. It's not Kate's fault. It's not Macy's fault. It's not Tyler's fault. Corey knew about this. It ain't Corey's fault. All the boys knew about it from their boy trip 1 or 2 seasons ago. This is not news. If you wanted to know about this, it was not Kate and Macy's job to tell you. That's
last season stuff. Watch the show then.
That's the thing. Your mom must have missed that episode, but we all have known this for a while.
Yeah. So she got banned on TikTok. I don't know if she's still banned because it seems like she went live again. And after she told everybody to, S Gary's D or ride Gary's D, she got banned because everybody in her comments.
Funny that's what did it, because she's always on there talking a whole lot of smack to the people that comment in there because they don't say nice things to her, and so she doesn't say nice things back and whatever. It's kind of a chaotic place sometimes to watch.
Turn off your chat. I don't
That's
understand.
what people tell her to do all the time. I don't get that either. Because she goes on there to cause chaos. She feels bad inside and she doesn't have a reason. So she wants to give herself a reason to feel bad. She knows people are going to come on there and hate. And then she can just let out all her anger on some random stranger and blame it on them. Go to therapy, lady. Go check in with your pediatrician or whatever he is.
Well, and then she gets mad because people comment on her pupils, and just address it. Say, I'm either in a manic episode, or she does say that it's the medication she is on, which I think people need to understand that. It doesn't always mean she's on stuff, which I wouldn't be surprised if she was. I mean, she is chaotic, but the thing is she is one in a manic episode, and it's obvious because of how often she's going live with strangers. Also enabled her to be just as manic. And then she's on medication on top of it, which does dilate your pupils. I think if she was doing that stuff, she would hopefully be smart enough to not show us her pupils every day.
And that medication does also slow you down quite a bit. I mean, that's sort of part of the purpose of it. So when she does seem a little bit slower to react to things and her voice is a lot lower toned and slower, I think that those are times that she is medicated, over medicated. I don't know. I'm not her prescriber, but I don't get the sense that she's out here abusing a whole bunch of drugs. She probably smokes some green stuff and whatever, but she doesn't seem to be abusing a lot of stuff. I think she has a lot of mental health challenges going on and she's not dealing with them appropriately. You just shouldn't get on live when you're manic like that, but at the same time, you're not thinking clearly. You think a lot of things. You're paranoid. You're sort of delusional at that point. So
she's so delusional to think she can shut this show down, and why would she want to do that to her? Well, she's just mad that the girls are able to talk about her and stuff now. She doesn't like that Jade and Cheyenne talked about her, which they did take a risk with Amber doing that, but who cares at this point? You're never going to see that lady again, and she's just going to yell at you from her couch on her lives with her strangers with her. And all she's going to do is shoot herself in the foot if she tries to get the show torn down, because, I mean, what's it going to do? You're just not going to get your money anymore. And you're going to have to downsize and stuff, because no matter what job you're working, there's no way you're making that much to where MTV is paying you to sit on your couch, literally, and just cry with no tears every now and then.
And fake pregnancies and all kinds of stuff. You know, there's nowhere else you'll get rewarded for that.
Exactly. And then she had to go back on live with her tail between her legs to apologize to Macy and Caitlin for overreacting and flipping them off. Why have you never apologized to your daughter? It's just crazy. Like, you can apologize to Macy and Caitlin for upsetting them, but you've been upsetting Leah for years and you don't even watch the damn show to see her side. You won't even accept her side. You'll say that she's not traumatized because only you in this world can be traumatized, Amber. Not a single other soul in this world can be traumatized but Amber. Kung Fu Portwood, I'll take Grace's name for her because that's hilarious.
She said she was going to change her name. I just watched a video of hers recently. Check out the Grace Report too. She also covers Teen Mom. She said she was changing her name from Kung Fu Portwood to, I don't remember. Go check it out.
So Amber is just going to keep going live and keep giving us free content instead of just letting MTV film her and make it
a cohesive storyline that's made up on MTV. At least they do her a better justice. Obviously, you can't take away the fact that you're neglecting your children. You can't make that look like you're not. But they always try to give her the benefit of the doubt or give her a storyline that tries to make some people somewhere feel bad for her. At least in that situation, they're trying to prop you up and make it look better than it actually is. In this situation, you are just going live at random times of the day, getting yourself way overly emotional, saying things that you don't mean, getting banned, having to apologize. You're looking like a mess out here.
If you don't want to be on the show that bad, just pull yourself off the show. Why do you have to think?
So she said she called Larry and had a long conversation with him where they both cried and that she took herself off of the show. And part of this was in response to the fact that I guess Leah said she would not feel comfortable with Amber being at the reunion. So Amber was not apparently allowed at the reunion. I don't know if they still did a video call with her or something separately, or if she just completely excluded from the reunion. But in the set where they usually have everyone together, Amber was not invited. So we'll see. I'm okay with that.
I don't think she would have shown up anyways.
True, and if she did, it would have been all about her, and I'd rather hear about Leah at this point anyways. Let's give Leah the bag. Let's give Gary the bag. Amber wants to take herself out at this point. Let's just let her see the door, whether she's fired or she leaves on her own accord. Let's just all agree to part ways with that lady.
Yeah, they'll never let her go. I mean, if they won't let you go over a machete incident, and you can't even destroy the show with your machete, then you're not going to be able to destroy the show with anything. This is MTV's passion project. They're doing this out of the kindness of their hearts at this point. And y'all have to now compete for airtime. There's only 5 minutes that y'all get, and you get paid based off of that. It's not like it was. I think if you truly want to be off the show, I'm glad you took yourself off, and then you'll get yourself a job. I don't know how, with your record. Get yourself some kind of job, and peace be with you. Because I don't care about Amber anymore. And I'm glad that MTV is not going to be funding her anymore. And maybe now when I watch Leah and Gary, if they do follow them still, which I kind of hope they don't, because I think Leah now has to heal from this. But if they want to share their story, if Leah wants to, then let it be up to her, I guess.
Another adoption storyline. Hey.
I mean, even though she is a teenager, so I don't know if this would be the kind of decision that might bite her in the ass later. with being so open about this. Maybe it's just best that Leah goes and heals on her own, which I would be fine with. I feel like these kids at this point maybe do need to have more of a private life. It's kind of strange how much we know about them still. I just think that if Amber wants to be let off the show, by all means, bye. I don't miss you.
Yeah,
and
I'm not going to sit here and cry about that.
I hope that if they do continue with Gary and Leah, that Amber doesn't get paid a dime for any of Leah's scenes, because that's what I've been concerned about this whole season. I'm like, every time we see Leah, does Amber get paid part of that? Because that's not even fair.
I know, I've been wondering that myself. So, and even this episode too, they prefaced all of Gary's scenes with Amber, and she was nowhere to be found per usual. Not that I want to see her. My blood pressure thanks her not being on my television, but I don't want her getting any credit for this. And I wonder, I don't know, I wonder if that's part of her reasoning for wanting to shut down the show. Maybe she feels like if she's not getting paid and her name's being, I don't know. She likes to have all kinds of problems about all kinds of things. But see you later. I'm good. We'll keep Leah, or Leah can make her own choice to go, but I'm done following Amber. It almost makes me not even want to cover her scenes whenever she is in there, but it's like a train wreck that you can't stop watching,
Yeah. What do we got next time for this train wreck?
So next time we find out that Zach apparently has a lot of sperm, but it's not moving and shaking anywhere, so we'll figure out what they would like to do about that. Mackenzie is going to have 2 embryos implanted. She's doing IVF because she got her A1C down. Holly's going to have a video call with her dad. Her dad is in prison or jail. I think he's going to be on his way to prison if he's not there yet. And then somebody's therapist wants to talk to Bree. I'm guessing that that's Nova's therapist, because I don't think Stella is old enough really to be in therapy yet, or I just don't think she is in therapy.
I think that's why we learned Nova was in therapy a couple episodes ago.
Oh, you're right. We did. I forgot about that. Yes. So the therapist wants to talk to her. I don't know. I don't think that that's necessarily a sign of something bad going on. She might just want to sort of get on the same page with her, but we'll see. And then Jade is going to continue the argument with Christy outside of her house. I don't think that's going to last much longer. They're probably going to start us off with that. And then I'm sure Christy's just going to drive away, probably to call her mom and give her a heart attack or something. So hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But
prayers for Jade's family, especially you, Christy.
Definitely, they're going to need all the good vibes and everything that they can get. Well, Stick Chatters, that'll be it for us today. Remember to like and subscribe and do all the things. We're getting really close to our 800 subscribe goal. So
yeah, so if you're watching, especially if you've gotten all the way through and you're not subscribed yet, I think that that's very silly. I think you should join us.
Yeah, Juan will tell you in the comments.
Yep. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Juan, for being such a good commenter.
We get lots of good thoughts from you. So
yes. So share the video with your friends, or just copy the share link. Let us know your thoughts. I know we had a couple of questions this episode, so don't forget to drop down there and let us know some of your experiences and what you're thinking. I'm liking the season so far. I think it's one of the best we've had in a little while. So
definitely entertaining.
See y'all next time.
See you next time. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, Rihanna, and goodbye.
Goodbye. You.